Hi there. Today is Careers Q&A Day, where Zoe and I give you some personal attention.
Today's question comes in from Natalie, who works in talent development at a mid-sized professional services firm. And she asks, what do you think makes a great careers week and what can we skip? Now, if you've ever organised one, you'll know the drill. It's a flurry of activity, there's internal panels, senior leaders sharing their stories, lots of learning lessons, maybe a keynote speaker or two, and possibly some branded swag and free cupcakes. Now, it all looks great on the intranet and engagement spikes for 5 days, and then everything quietly returns to normal. So when this question came in, we thought, yes, let's unpack it properly, because a great careers week shouldn't be just a corporate festival. It should change how people think about their future inside your organisation. So let's dive in.
So I think it's really important to acknowledge that a great careers week or careers day, it isn't just about having visibility of where your career can go. It's also about giving people clarity and new ideas about how they navigate their internal mobility within the organisation. And I think very frequently, one of the big challenges, especially if you have a large organisation that's grown by acquisition, is even just the basics of understanding what do we do, what do all the different brands and divisions do, and how do they all fit together. And that can become a bit of a showcase of like, this is what finance does, this is what strategy does, this is what this brand does. And I don't think there's any harm in a quick 101, but I think just bearing in mind the why, which is people want to hear about the different opportunities that might exist for them across the organisation. And they don't struggle really because they're not sure that another department exists. They struggle because they can't work out what the path might be from where they are to those other opportunities, or perhaps that they haven't necessarily worked out how they could transfer their skills over. So really important to just be mindful of the audience and what they want to do with that information.
Yeah, and I mean, real careers now, we already know they're not linear, are they? And so stories of like how somebody went from here to here to here, like in a sort of upward trajectory, as it maybe we used to hear, aren't really going to necessarily help them with ownership of their own growth. So I think, and in a world that's shaped by vast AI tools and increasing numbers of portfolio careers and massive skill shifts, employees aren't really asking anymore, how do I get promoted? What they are asking more about is, well, how do I stay relevant, and what's next for me? How do I work out what that is? And what skills are you looking for in the next 3 to 5 years? Or how do I evolve here? What can I try so I don't have to leave? So it's not the sort of traditional, how do I just get promoted? And if Careers Week don't sort of address those sort of deeper level of questions, then it can become sort of like a performance, really. Like, here's Careers Week, the curtain goes back, all this wonderful stuff happens, but people don't come away feeling that they've got a much deeper level of understanding of self and therefore more clarity about where in the organisation they might sit.
That's right. And we do a lot of framing for Careers Weeks, don't we, with exactly that, of kind of how do you think about where you want to go next, who you are, what you're designed for, and how to be agile and kind of literate about making that move from an informed perspective. And I think giving a piece of that work is always incredibly valuable for helping people to think about how they navigate, having a chance to take a step back and to think about what success means for them. So an employee reflection session is always really, really useful. The leader presentations, the kind of career journeys, we'll come to those, and those are really useful. But I would always say start before you start showcasing how other people have done it, or what development exists, or what the pathways are, by creating a space and ideally a toolkit or framework for the kind of questions that they are asking about their career. What am I designed for? What skills are going to be useful in the future that I'm interested in developing? What do I want more or less of in the work that I'm doing? What kind of environments suit me best? Because people really want to have a dialogue about who they are and how they're designed. And they often want to do that as a precursor to interacting with all the amazing skills and development and career support that's available. So what they want first is that kind of self-awareness and anchoring that then sets them up for also, what do I want out of this week And therefore, how do I best engage with the resources and tools to help me to get that? And, we're not going to lie about it. Of course, we think the career equation can be very, very useful as an anchoring, and we're very often asked to do that. But career equation or not, just be mindful that there should be a component in there that is about self-discovery.
Yeah, and I think the other thing when you're thinking about, right, what do we compile? And quite often we hear stories from other people, don't we, in Careers Week, where somebody tells them about their journey, is to make sure that you're showcasing real journeys, not just the sort of super polished ones. So when you bring people onto your panels, don't just platform the sort of senior leaders that have got these linear stories. We do want to hear about the lateral moves, the pivots, the real challenges where they thought, oh my gosh, I've got to go back and start again. Those really like messy middle moments, because that's what becomes more real for people, and to make them super practical. So I think briefing your senior leaders or whoever your internal speakers are, make sure that we're not saying, oh, tell us about your role and how you're progressed. We're saying like, what nearly derailed you? Tell them about it, When did you doubt even staying in this organization? What sideways moves? All those kind of like non-expected conversations or questions, I think, is the things that we would say to give them a good heads up on, so they can tell a really good and interesting real life story. And then I think what happens from an employee's point of view who's attending and listening is it's not just about success stories then. It's about, that makes sense to me. I've felt like that in the past. And, that means a lot to me at the moment where I am in my career. So, definitely do that as well.
And of course, it has the benefit of kind of credibility and intimacy as well. It is fantastic how many senior sponsors do want to participate and tell their story. And, the warts and all version is much more memorable, much more relatable as well. So it is a kind of leadership platform opportunity to do that, as well as helping you to really normalize multi-directional careers and, various pivots within the organization, and letting people know that that is possible, particularly if that's a key element of your strategy. And look, interactivity is really, really important as well, not just being a kind of passive receiver of information. It's hard to stay engaged when that's the case. So live career mapping workshops, a kind of ask me anything session where we can have quick fire questions about careers that different people across the organization can answer, skills building tasters about skills you think are going to be useful for the future and how to kind of get a feel for whether that might really suit you. Round tables where people have chance to break out into smaller groups and have conversations, and maybe also some ways to do some rapid networking, bringing people into a room, a space, be it virtually or in person, and creating an opportunity for them to ask questions and make connections so that the week can really stick and have kind of lasting value and conversations that can continue beyond that space. And look, here's some things you can just leave out as well. Over-engineered keynote speakers who do like motivation and inspiration, but have a career that's completely unrelatable for most people. Generic kind of long-winded, non-interactive lectures and death by PowerPoint. You can just record those another time. They don't need to be live sessions. But, if it's gonna have an element of like performance interactivity or one-offness, then really try to get that in. Leaders telling the same, gosh, it was so amazing how I got here. I just led and progressed and everything was really easy stories. Those things can all just like be left by the by. And also if there's anything standardized that's available elsewhere, then just keep compiling that great library and refer to it. Try to make some things that you can add to that library and use later.
And I think we kind of say as well that before you start booking panels or engineering the calendar, if you like, is to really think about like the question, like what would a great careers week result in for us? What do we want to happen as a result of it? What do we want people to take away? What conversations do we want to start beyond that of just the week? And what opportunities do we want to make more visible? Because I think if you can't answer those questions, then there's not really any point starting to book speakers and sessions and get the calendar aligned. I think they are fundamental things you should think about, because Careers Week isn't just about the quantity. In fact, actually, I think from my own personal perspective, I would probably feel like a bit overwhelmed if there was too much choice in Careers Week, because I'd then have fear of missing out on something. I'd be worried. So it's not about quantity, but it is about clarity, about visibility and momentum, I think, for individuals so they can then, grab hold of that ownership and take action. So, remember that Careers Week really sets the tone, and it shows whether development here is real or is just something we talk about on Careers Week and then nothing happens after it. So, do you think about that? Because what you want off the back of that is managers to be able to have really great conversations in one-to-one discussions with people off the back of it about new moves, opportunities, re-engaging, and to really know that it's worked. And I think that's the test.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, know what it's for so that you can start with the end in mind in your design. And, a couple of takeaways to think about then if you are planning a careers week. First of all, do you know what your careers philosophy is and what the intention is behind it? And also to build skills and capacity around that, what needs to happen. So you might have clarified your philosophy, or you might be at the place where you're beginning to do that. Then do you have a process and activity that makes it easy for people to join in and engage with that? And then lastly, as Zoe said, what do you want them to be able to do or to action or to feel confident or clearer about as a result of your efforts? So really do think about those three key pillars when you're doing the design. And one last design tip from me, we know that we work across all ages and stages and that everybody is interested in their career, be they an apprentice or partner approaching retirement and everybody in between. So also do just think about what things are for everybody and will work for everyone, but maybe also consider having some specific attention paid to the different ages and stages that folks might be at. We really look forward to answering more of your questions. How do you get them coming in?
You can record them, send us an audio message. We love the audio ones because we can pop your voice into the answers as well. You can keep them anonymous. Just use your first name. Always like to know what kind of organisation or field you're in. And then we will definitely look forward to answering them for you.
So that's pod@thecareerequation.com. Just send them in and you'll get them answered.